all musicians want to get to that point where they're playing in a way that's not just correct, but it's creative and it's inspired. But how do you get from that point where you're just playing the chart to the point where you're being creative and you're being expressive with it? A lot of times that kind of playing doesn't involve a lot of spectacular technique, but it just involves doing a few simple things well. And in this video, I want to talk through the song Great Are You, Lord, and show you some ways and some simple techniques that you can learn to express yourself creatively. Hey everyone, my name is Peter. Thanks for joining me at OurWorshipSound, where we're working to make worship keyboard technique and technology easier. I think everyone can relate to being at a point where you're going to play a song and you want to be creative with it and you want to do something new, but you have just kind of a vague idea of what that means, and then you go to play it and it ends up sounding exactly like the way you've played that song every time before and the way you've played other songs just like it. So how do you break out of that rut and learn to express yourself in creative ways? I want to show you a few simple techniques that you can use to kind of break out of whatever rut you might be in. We're going to talk through this song, Great Are You, Lord. It's by All Sons and Daughters, and just some ways that we can approach it maybe a little bit differently. So first of all, before we branch out and try to be too creative with it, we want to make sure we have a really good foundation in how to play the song and the chart as it's written. So first of all, let's learn to get around this chord progression. Now, as we look at this chord progression, we could work through the different processes that we've talked before and learn that this is in the key of A major. It's a really important step to know that we are in the key of A major. We're going to be working with this scale, and we're going to make connections from the chords and everything that we play to that. So when we start with D, we're playing the 4 chord. Then we go to the 6 chord, F sharp minor, the 5 chord, and then our last chord is the 1 chord with an alternate bass note. We call that a slash chord. Okay, so we want to master the different chord inversions so we can get around this chord progression smoothly without a lot of effort. One really good way to do that is just to park your pinky finger on the home note of the key, which is A, and then build your chords around that. So for the D chord, I'm going to work down from the A and play the D chord in root position. I can keep the A there again for the F sharp minor, play it in second inversion, and then we can go to E sus4. We can either jump up a note and play it there in a closer position, or we can continue to just build it down and keep the pinky there and play E sus4 that way. And we'll go ahead and use that form of it for this video, and then this for the A slash C sharp. Okay, so once again, our chord progression is going to be D in root position, F sharp minor in second inversion, E sus4 this way, and A slash C sharp. Okay, now for a solid rhythmic foundation and a rhythmic approach to this chord progression, as you listen to this, there's a lot of kind of open, held out, sustained chords. So that definitely works to play this in the 6/8 feel. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a little different timing there on that last chord change. If you want to play with more rhythm, one thing that works well in 6/8 is to use this 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6, 1, 2, and 3, 4, the hemiola effect. It's a 3 against 2. And we're going to create that with our thumbs, okay? So what we're going to do is just use whatever note we're playing with our thumb in the right hand. In the left hand, I'm going to play root in 5th. So D to A for that chord. For F sharp minor, we'll do that, and then E. And then for the slash chord, I'll play the alternate bass note going to the A. Okay, so we could play a rhythmic feel like this. Okay, and that works well. Okay, so we've got the basics down. Now, how can we learn to branch off of that and be more creative with it? One way is we can take a more creative approach to the chords. And the thing about being creative with your chords is you want to make sure that you do it in a way that's not going to cause conflicts with other people playing the same chart. So if you've got a guitar player or another keyboard player and your bass player, you want to make sure that what you're doing is gonna work with them. Okay, the things I'm going to show you are going to work well, and you can feel free to do them pretty much at any point. For this first round, what we're going to do, and one thing that's a really safe thing to do anytime, is to work in the 1st and 5th scale notes into any of the chords that don't have them. So for the D chord, what we can do is add that E The A is already there, but we can add the E. We could also put it in place of that F sharp and play our D chord this way, and it works well because that's the 5th note of the scale. Okay, so we play D like that. We can do the same thing with the F sharp minor and work in that E instead of the F sharp. It ends up being an F sharp minor 7. E sus4, I'm not going to mess with it because it already has both notes in there. And the same thing pretty much for the A/C sharp. Now, one thing I do like to do with the slash chords is instead of doubling that bass note in the right hand, I just like to leave it out. Just play the 2 notes there. It just gives it a more open and a cleaner sounding voicing there for your slash chord. So with this method, what we're doing now is this. So working in that 1st scale note or 5th scale note works really well. Now the next thing you can do if you want to branch out a little bit farther beyond that is to work in the 3rd scale note and the 7th scale note. I've never said this before, but that's another option. Now this is going to be more colorful. It also has a potential to create more dissonance and potential conflict. So you want to use your kind of musical intuition and just use your best judgment on whether this sounds good. Okay, so when we're working this in, I can start with the D chord, and the G sharp might be a little bit much, but the C sharp will give us that nice major 7 sound. We could work it in up top or down below. For the F sharp minor, let's try using our 5th scale note, and then our G sharp in there, maybe instead of the A, or you could leave it in. Okay, and then not gonna mess with the sus4 chord again, but then for the slash chord we can maybe try that G sharp in there again. And this, we might be a little bit more open to some of these things on this song because the melody is really simple. It's just, it's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, it's your breath. So it's almost all on just that 1st and 5th scale notes. So it leaves a lot more room for creativity in this chord progression. So with this, we could do something like, it's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, it's your breath. Okay, so just some different options there, and none of those things are really going to create any kind of major conflicts with anybody else. So those are some ways to branch out in the way that you approach your chords. To go beyond that, what I like to do, there are 2 things I like to do to go beyond that and to be more creatively expressive. And the first one involves adding some different notes in between the chords. Some people call this passing chords. I like to think of it actually as just melodies and melody notes that we're working in between the chords. And so I like to think of it as playing melodically, and something I've talked quite a bit about before. But we want to take different scale notes and get used to what they sound like, and then work them in as melodies in between the chords. And start out with just a few notes and keep it really simple. For example, we could use the 1st scale note, the 3rd scale note, and the 7th scale note. So from our A major scale, we're using these 3 notes. And I'm going to create some fairly simple rhythms with just those 3 notes and work them in with the chords I'm already playing. So I could do something like, it's your breath. Okay, so something like that. So just you still play most of your chords, and then just work in some simple melodies using just a few scale notes. And then as you get used to the scale notes, then you can branch out and be just more fluent about it from that point. Another thing that I like to do to branch out and be a little bit more creatively expressive is to add other sounds on top of my piano sound. This song I like to use what's called an arpeggiator and use that with the synth sound. So it sounds like this. So what it's doing is taking the notes that I'm playing and repeating them in a rhythmic pattern that aligns with the tempo of the song. So that sounds like this. Okay, so that's a really good way to add texture, add some movement, and just be more creative and go beyond what you would normally play. So no one wants to remain stuck playing the same way, playing the same type of song, playing the same type of style. And I don't want you to be stuck there. I also don't want you to have to keep jumping all over YouTube to find a little bit of something here, a little bit of something there to work into your playing. I've got some things to help you. The first place I would recommend you start out is a course called Fluent Piano Chords. If you're a beginner, even through someone who really just wants to make sure your chord foundation is really solid, it'll lead you through a logical progression of what you need to understand and what you need to practice to get to that point. So check out Fluent Piano Chords. If you're looking for something a little bit more than that, you can kind of start there and go beyond there. You can also check out, if you haven't already, a free PDF called Essential Skills for the Worship Keyboard Artist. And you can click on the link that's appearing now or click on the link in the description. And it just kind of outlines some of the basic things that you need to make sure that you have in order for you to express yourself creatively and not remain stuck playing the same way all the time. So I want to use those resources to help you move efficiently toward where you want to be as a keyboard artist. So check those things out. If you have a question, let me know. If you have any comments, just feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Also be sure to subscribe for notifications on future videos as they come out. So check out those things, and I think that'll help you. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.